Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
So I told you this before, about 10 years ago, I saw in one of the Bilderberger reports this one phrase which I didn't understand at the time. They talked about demand destruction. That was the phrase itself. I kind of let it slide because at the time I was just overwhelmed with information and I didn't quite understand most of it. Until about 2.5 years ago, shortly after Stresa in 2004, that's the Bilderberger meeting in Italy. You know, I saw that phrase again in the Club of Rome report, and then I came across it again in one of the trilateral papers, and then I saw it on the CFR website, and then I saw it again in the Bilderberger report in 2005 from the German meeting. They're talking about demand destruction. So I asked a friend of mine in the banking industry, and he said, how do you destroy the demand? I said, well, how do you do that? He said, by destroying the world economy. When you can destroy the world economy, you can make people poor, and you can, again, transfer the wealth from us to them.
Stay there, Daniel. Got a break. We'll come back and talk about what the White House press secretary has to say about this.
A bad situation here when OPEC says the reason for $105 or $106 a barrel oil is the falling value of the dollar, and you won't address that issue. Where do we go to find out who's right?
Well, as he just said, the Treasury Secretary is where you go to talk about the dollar. It's a long-standing policy that predates this administration, and I'm not going to change it today, but Treasury can talk about it.
I don't expect you to change it, but I do expect you to be able to say whether OPEC is completely wrong about this, or whether there is at least something to their claim that the dollar is responsible for the high price of oil right now.
Wendell, I'm under strict instructions and have been from the beginning to not talk about the dollar, and I'm not going to get fired to satisfy your question.
All right. Now, that's Dana Perino, White House press secretary. The pretty face they put up there is a total puppet. We don't need Dana Perino in the White House that tells us we're not in a recession and we're in a boom economy to tell us that OPEC's telling the truth. If you're buying fuel in euros, you're paying less than you were 5 years ago. If you're buying them in dollars, you're paying 70% more. Excuse me, more than double. I don't know, it was $40 a barrel 6, 7 years ago, and it's $109 now. I don't know, what is that, more than double? I mean, it's like children. The national media needs the White House to tell them the dollar's devalued, so oil costs more. I mean, they talk to us like we are retarded children, and I'm not being mean here. They talk to us, and I guess we are, Daniel Estulin.
Well, Alex, you know, I was just listening to the comments from the White House secretary. It's just amazing the stupidity what that lady was saying. Now, Alex, do you remember the week before Christmas, the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States, the Bank of England, the National Bank of Switzerland, European Central Bank, the Bank of Canada, they had a coordinated effort to prop up the financial markets. Now, in 3 days at the time, they poured in more than $1 trillion of liquidity into the system. Now, since then, the United States Federal Reserve has been pouring about $15 billion a week through term auction facility launched on December the 17th, 2007, if I'm not mistaken. Now, one of the side effects of the term auction facility is that the United States bank reserves have fallen below zero. Now, I'll repeat that. The American bank reserves are -0. Now, we're talking about negative bank reserves. Can you understand exactly what a dire situation the American economy is? The financial markets?
Hey, I had the head of shadowstats.com, top economist. I had the head of the New York Business School on. I've had Joseph Stiglitz, former chief economist, World Bank on, Dr. Paul Greg Roberts, former head of the Treasury. They all say that unless things are done and unless they shore up the dollar, we are going to be in a worldwide depression within 2 years.
Well, you know, I think the depression is going to be much sooner than that. We're looking at probably about next year or so. Again, one of the plans that I did see, according to the Bilderberger report from a few years back, is the idea by the end of 2008, early 2009, to have the dollar lose more than 50% of its value. Well, the dollar has already lost more than 50% of its value. In fact, in New York yesterday, I saw stores accepting euros, which is, you know, something unheard of just a few weeks or months or years ago. Now, the New York Times...
Mayday.
Exactly. The New York Times said last week that the current, economic bubble is 600% larger than the 2000 bubble, which literally destroyed half of the American economy. Imagine what we're in for. Again, Greenspan said that right now the United States economic growth is zero. Buffett said we're in a recession. General Motors in the last quarter of 2007 is $722 million in the red. Again, what do we need to do to convince people that there are very powerful men and women behind the curtain who are controlling the lives, the daily existence of hundreds of millions of people around the world? What else must be done?
Well, this is it, and they have created all the liquidity. They flooded the global markets. Their own documents stated, I want your take on this when we get back and we're going to calls. They have a mountain of money they made out of nothing, but then they get our real assets, our homes, our roads, our water districts, our ports. It's all being handed over right now, and they haven't even begun the full implosion. Then they've got their martial law grid, their microwave guns, their sound cannons ready. They've hired 26,000 preachers, 23,000 executives, their FBI InfraGard, now more than 500,000 truck drivers, school teachers, spies everywhere, San Francisco Chronicle, Houston Chronicle, admitting Bush is now a dictator, FEMA camps. He'll pass those presidential powers on to Hillary or Obama or McCain, whoever it is. I mean, it's clear. They're going to implode things and then come in with martial law, posing as the saviors. If we bitch too much, they'll set off a nuke or something and say Al-Qaeda did it. We're going into hell on earth. There's no doubt.
Now, let me give you, just a bit of information before you go to the commercial break. Now, key term for the near future, I heard this through the grapevine from my sources, human dignity as a central challenge inherent in the phenomenon of global political awakening. You will hear this term, human dignity, being popped around by the Obamas and the Hillarys and everybody else in the presidential election. Watch out for it.
I want to get from you what human dignity means, what that spin term means, from Daniel Estulin on the other side, and your call. Stay with us.
263 Roger, you may do that 3,500 feet, 084 radial towards Wallasey, and keep me advised.
All right, that is a real Mayday call over Manchester, England, where the big jumbo jet takes off and then its engine burns out. You see it on fire, and they're calmly calling Mayday as they try to turn the plane around and bring it in. The point is, this is like a country that's basically coming in for a landing with engines on fire, and the yuppies are dancing around, giggling and snickering. We have all the government documents, how they're imploding us, how they're going to regulate us, how they're going to control us, the martial law, the FEMA camps. And I just want to tell all the yuppies and know-it-alls and trendies and the rest of you, this is real. This isn't a joke. I wish this wasn't real. I'm freaked out every day. I don't even know what to do. And the globalists are doing this all by design. They've engineered it all. And meanwhile, they're telling you everything's fine, so you can't even get ready for it. They're telling you go into more debt. They're saying issue more debt, knowing that means they'll get full control of you. Daniel Estulin, finishing up the point you were making before break.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Alex. Again, going back to what you just said, you and I have talked about this quite often. I think the idea is, I wrestle with this on a daily basis when I'm faced with a situation of who do I tell what's going on in the entire world. And my point is, again, this is like a Titanic. We are out of time. There's just simply no time to save the entire world's population. We have to talk to the people who are willing to listen to us. At least that's what I'm doing, talking to the people who understand, who at least understand in part what is going on. I forget about the yuppies. Unfortunately, there's just not enough time, not enough energy, and not enough people who understand, who can follow our example and do what needs to be done. So I don't talk to the gallery. I talk only to the people who want to listen, who want to understand, and this is one of the things I think it's very important that you and the listeners out there do exactly the same thing. Forget about the yuppies. Forget about wasting your time on people who do not want to believe you, whose scale of values have absolutely nothing to do with ours. They will perish as most of the other people in the world. We need to save ourselves.
Well, by perish, I mean live in a police state, be totally bankrupt and poor, living in a FEMA trailer. I know the globalists are talking about, in fact, we have a Carnegie document here that just came out where they're calling for a zero carbon output. Well, humans exhale carbon, and they're saying they're going to force a post-industrial era, and then they admit in their own study billions will die. I mean, these people are psychopaths.
Well, of course, yeah, we understand that, but unfortunately, we just as far as I'm concerned, there's not enough time to try to convince everybody out there that what is actually going on is the truth. Most people will not believe you, no matter how much effort you and I put into this, because unfortunately, again, the mainstream press has done a fantastic job dumbing down the population. They will laugh in our faces, and they will not believe anything we say, because, again, their reality of television, mainstream press, mainstream radio is very different from your reality and my reality, which is based on hard facts and information and data, which, of course, we have been able to glean from the man behind the curtain.